Hey, everybody, you're listening or watching, or both, the Super Intelligent Podcast with me, Mike Elgin, and Emily Forlini. And we are the podcast that talks about technology, and we talk about culture, and we talk about life. And we're also the podcast that has no ads, no sponsors, no subscriptions, no merch, no nothing. And we also don't have canned recorded episodes from the past when we don't do a podcast. If we don't do a podcast, there's no podcast. So that's what we do for you, and we hope you like it. This is the kind of podcast we like to do, and so that's why we do it. So, Emily, how's the weather?
Great. I love your intro. Yeah, I lit a candle for today. I thought, like be dramatic, like candlelit podcast.
Wow.
Which could be fun.
Spooky. Nice.
But then it was so dark, I turned the overhead light on, so now it's all ruined. But
electricity's awesome.
It would be really fun to do a candlelit podcast sometime.
It would.
Reporting live from the center of the snowstorm on the East Coast. So we definitely have over a foot of snow at this point. You look outside, it's like this much is on the patio table kind of thing. No one can really leave their house. Like they said, don't be on the roads, but there are little people like, everyone's outside shoveling, and there's actually a kid going from door to door, like offering to shovel for people. And I was like, okay, this is a real snowstorm. So I thought we'd talk about the weather today, but you're not in the snow at all, right?
I'm not in the weather today. It is 7 p.m. I'm near San Salvador, El Salvador, and it is 80 degrees Fahrenheit right now.
Well, I think it's like 13 here.
Yeah, so a little different. And I've actually spent the last few years of winter storms, a couple of which have been unprecedented here in El Salvador, and just baking here. Thank goodness for the tropics if you want to escape. So it's been really fun, but I do know that most of North America has not been fun. There's been a lot of stories about people being caught off guard. And by the way, there are a lot of horrible weather in Europe as well. Bring up some
really?
of that. Yeah. And so I think it's obvious that the most important thing about weather and the technology we have is to be able to predict it well enough to deal with it. For example, you mentioned nobody's going anywhere, nobody's running around. Okay, so that means you have to have the stuff that you need to sort of be inside your house for a while. In other cases, you have to flee hurricanes, flooding, and to the degree to which
Do you hear that
our
noise?
tools...
Can you hear that?
No.
There's a snow plow is going down my street.
Okay, well,
it kind
right
of sounds
cue.
like a grumbling monster. I don't know if that's coming through.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I lived in New York on Long Island for a decade. We had a huge blizzard or two while we lived there. And I tell you, it's not something California people are used to, this shoveling of snow and the snow plows and all the rest. So it's really important, obviously. And I think most people used to get their weather a little bit from the newspaper, and then also from a meteorologist on the news, TV news, right? And they'd explain everything and they'd add a lot of context. But nowadays, I think people just use the app, right? And probably the one that came with their phone.
Exactly. So the weather app, I have an iPhone. And so leading up to this storm, the news always overhypes everything. And so people don't trust it always, especially when it comes to weather. They'll say, oh, it's going to snow. And, stay home, you make all these arrangements, you cancel all your plans, and then nothing happens. So when this one started to be a big press cycle, everyone's like, no. And they were like, I know it's not real. Look at my weather app. And so there were multiple people who were in my life. I heard they're like, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Look at the weather app. Look at the weather app. And then lo and behold, a couple days later, I started to see news stories. Don't trust your weather app. And it was this big, of course, misinformation thing as per usual, where everyone just trusts that this weather app is like the god of all weather. And it turns out it's especially bad in big complex storms, because when you have to boil the weather down to an icon, sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, you can't really capture that it's going to be snow, then ice, then snow, then ice. Then, it's going to be this many inches in the morning, this at night. Like, it doesn't really capture the full picture. So, they had to just make decisions to stop the trains today, to tell people to get off the road. They have to make a lot of weather decisions. And, the people who need that data the most cannot rely on the weather app, it turns out. It just doesn't. It's not informing people. And I just thought that was interesting.
It also, one of the nice things about local news weather is that they know the town as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're mentioning that storms can have snow, ice, rain, and all kinds of different
Mm-hmm.
things, weird temperatures, and that does different things to different places. So there are some places where there are tons of hills, for example, where cars are just sliding down. Well, if they knew they would be unable to have friction on their tires sufficient to get the car up the hill, they wouldn't have driven on that street. And so it'd be really great for whatever our information source is to give us that kind of information. Don't go in this part of town at night because it's going to turn to freezing, whatever. And because it's been raining, it's going to be
Yeah,
bad
exactly.
conditions. It's funny because there was a weather app. What was that called? It was an app that was really geared toward micro prediction. Like it would, and I remember there was a period of time where it was really good. Like it would say, "Oh, it's going to start raining in 5 minutes where you are," and then
Yeah,
it
it does
would.
that pretty well. I mean, that's why people earn trust. So even the iPhone weather app, mine, it says, rain will stop in 20 minutes, and it's pretty good. But that's why people were surprised when it didn't really work for this storm. And then it also had things like, you're going to get 11 to 24 inches of snow. It's like, well, those are very different numbers, my
Yeah,
friends.
right.
So, like, what are we talking about here?
One is irrelevant and one is catastrophic.
Yeah,
The app was dark sky, by the way. Apple bought dark
oh,
sky in 2020, and everybody thought, wow, Apple's weather tool is going to get really accurate, and it didn't change at all. So I don't know
yeah.
what the
So
point of that was.
it's like, how do you plan? There's this talk about how human meteorologists, they look at all the data and they interpret the story, whereas an app like the weather app on iPhones, it does look at multiple sources, different data, different forecasts, but then it kind of uses AI to decide which one to show, or it shows the range like 11 to 24 inches. You'd think we might know a little bit more about how many inches we're going to get. Is it
Yeah,
one number or is it double that number?
right.
That's important if you're shutting down entire transit systems, for example, if you're buying salt, if you're
Right.
figuring out how you're going to shovel. So it's smart in the sense that it looks at everything, but apparently it's very dumb when it comes to the time you need it most, which is an extreme weather event.
Right. Well, I'll talk about the question that raises in a second. But it's really interesting. As you know, we travel around the world and to lots of places, and we do experiences in different places. And my wife has all those places on speed dial on the Apple Weather app. So she has like 15 places that she's
Mm-hmm.
checking every day to see what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in those places. And this week, I guess, the last few days, there have been catastrophic flooding in Sicily, and especially
Okay.
in the parts of Sicily where we do experiences in the east and the southeast. And so she was literally calling all of our friends in Sicily to find out how they're doing, whether,
That's
and almost everybody was like, yeah, it's fine. The main roads are fine. It's the roads along the coast that got wiped out. With the exception of one person who's a friend of ours whose mother's house was completely destroyed.
oh
She had
no.
a house on the coast, and it was just she lost everything. The whole house was just blown away. Nobody injured, but like all her stuff is gone. And so that's the kind of thing where the more notice, like if you had a couple of days notice, you could literally just move all your valuables and prized possessions out of
Yeah,
the
that'd
house.
be a lot better.
A lot better than just, okay, we have a half an hour to run for our lives.
Right, exactly. So it was interesting. I told you I have that goal right now to post twice a week on TikTok. Did I talk about that on this
Yeah.
podcast? Yeah, so I'm doing it and it's working, but now I'm on TikTok a lot.
Okay.
So I saw there were a lot of meteorologists popping up on my feed, and they were really cool people, and they were getting hundreds of thousands of likes and views, like these human meteorologists. I say human because I guess we have to distinguish now, but cool people who, had long careers being TV meteorologists who were like, this is how I'd interpret this, this, and that. People who are just have their own accounts now. And it's kind of maybe, what would we do without these people? Because everyone was really appreciating their information. And they, maybe in today's world, there wouldn't be as many jobs for them because we don't really get weather like that. But they were awesome and they were so helpful.
That's so amazing. That's the equivalent of like a disaffected print journalist or reporter
Yeah.
launching a Substack, and there's a place for them to go and be independent. And I think that's fantastic because a lot of the weather, around the world has really been taken over by, eye candy and just frivolous reports and not meteorology. Why can't I say that word?
I know,
Meteorologists.
I
That's
can't
why they
talk
didn't let me be
either.
one.
I mean, maybe because I've just been inside all day eating
Yeah.
Pringles and looking at meteorologists on TikTok, but
I've been driving all over San Salvador, so we're
yeah.
both impaired for different reasons. But I think that really good meteorologists to find an independent route to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great. That is so great.
Yeah, it's cool. And they do things like, we do with when we write stories is contextualize it. So it's like, okay, so I've been reporting on this for 30 years. Is this storm a big deal or not? Is this weather pattern a big deal or not? What is the data source that they're using to predict this snowfall? What are they using to predict that snowfall? Who says what? How accurate have they been in the past? Here's what you need to do based on what's happening. And here is how it's going to affect your specific area. I was like, brilliant. Like that's what we need. Not my weather app.
And they're educating the public on how meteorology works and how the weather works.
Right.
And what it all means, which is really, really great. I think people can choose to become as an interest, sort of armchair meteorologists themselves to interpret the weather. The other thing that I don't understand is, in my lifetime, the weather has gotten so much more complex, and I don't know why. So one factor could be climate change. Another factor could be just the drive for ratings to make the weather seem more extreme than it is. I don't remember ever hearing things like, it's a freezing cauldron of, they have all these names and categorizations of weather. It used to be just like really cold. And they used to report they'd say something like, it's going to be 15 degrees Fahrenheit and it's going to be really windy. So it's going to feel colder than it's. And now it's like, okay, the wind chill factor is, and then they hype up how it's going to feel rather than emphasizing the actual temperature.
Oh yeah, feels like.
Yeah, which is kind of bogus because that assumes you're going to be out walking around. The temperature affects things like, your house, the pipes, like all these things you have to be concerned about. I don't think the wind chill factor affects those things so much. It's the actual temperature.
Right.
So,
but usually you're walking around to some degree, right?
I mean, I try not to.
No, you're all over the place.
Not in 15-degree weather, I'm not.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm personally confused about the changing complexity of how weather information is conveyed.
That's a really funny point, actually. It's kind of the opposite, though, too, of weather's also gotten really boring. Like just checking an app on your phone is very boring. You're looking at some data displayed in an infographic. It's not the corny weather guy. It's going to be so hot. You're going to be like I don't know, what's something corny an old weather guy would say if it was hot?
I don't know. Faces are going to be melting. I don't know what they would say. I don't know what corny guys say.
I don't know, but maybe it's not. I don't know if
that's myself.
Lost art or not. I guess we do talk about things on this podcast that are kind of like lost crafts, lost art, and the TV weather person kind of is. Whether we miss them or not, I don't know, but it certainly was more entertaining probably than checking a stale iPhone app.
Right. Which is also confusing because if somebody is going to have an app that's at a massive scale, you think they could afford to hire a really good personality. Like the best weather people are both really skillful scientists and also stand-up comics. And so they're entertaining. And like you say, they make it very colorful. That's what we all want. We want to open an app and have a person do essentially TV weather in a very entertaining way that's concise. And you think that, if an app has 10 million viewers, they ought to be able to afford a salary.
You would think. It's just, I think, sanitized and it's the most broad appeal. So another thing is the weather app what they're saying is that it is good in just a mild, everyday, boring. You wake up, you roughly want to know, what am I going to wear today? Do I need to bring my umbrella? You just want to know the basics, and it's good for that. It's fine. It's directional. It's times like this weekend when you need the weather guy, the weather woman to get up there, make it real to you, tangible, scientific, fun, actionable. What is my snow and salt plan? So it's good. I think it's probably better on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if I need to open up the weather app and have someone giving me the weather circus. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
a good point. That's a good point. We need richer data. I mean, we do experiences, as you know, and
Mm-hmm.
what we do is everything that happens on a gastronomic experience is a surprise. But yes, they don't know what they're doing until they're doing it. And we do a bunch of things every single day that
Wow.
are really amazing. Yeah, it's really cool. But we have to warn them about what to wear and what to bring.
Yeah.
And so, on the one, there's always this tension because I take all these pictures and we want people to dress up and look amazing for the
Mm-hmm.
photos. And
Mm-hmm.
also because it's really fun to do that. And also, if it rains, if it's going to be sunny, if there are going to be mosquitoes, if we're going to be out in a place that's hot during the day, then we're going to go straight to a place where we're going to have an alfresco dinner where it's going to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
We have to warn them about all that stuff in a very granular level so that people don't end up freezing at dinner or, getting sunburn or whatever it is that,
Right.
we can
So
warn
what do you
them
use
away
for
from.
that? What do you use for the weather?
I think I don't use anything. My wife Amira uses I think a combination of apps,
Hmm.
and we're updating this thing like on the fly, just in the morning of, to
Hmm.
make sure that it's accurate. But it's important, that's just one tiny little application that people might not think of. Is just you're sort of on vacation
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
doing something, and you want to make sure that you have a good vacation because we don't get enough vacations, we Americans. So
That's true.
we don't want weather disinformation to spoil it for us.
Right.
Farmers need really good information. Winemakers,
Mm.
we're like super into wine and winemaking, the winemaking industry, for lack of a better term, and the weather coming up to harvest, the weather when they want to do pruning, the weather, if there's frost, if there's going to be a heat wave, all that stuff is not just important, it's life or death
Mm-hmm.
for the business of farming grapes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have friends who, not that they could do anything about it, but we've had friends in Europe, Spain and Italy especially, where hail has destroyed 100% of their harvest before they could harvest it. Just an entire
Shoot.
vintage gone. I mean, that's catastrophic financially for a winery. And it's the hail physically destroys the grapes and the
Wow.
vines. Yeah,
Hail's the worst. It really
it's
is.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Veneto, they have this thing called a thing called a hail cannon. I think it's from the 19th century. And what they would do is it's like a megaphone that's pointed upward, and they'd point it at the sky, and they would light like dynamite in the base of it, and the sonic boom they hope would break up all the ice before it could come down in large pieces.
Wow.
And
Should try that.
yeah, you should try that in New Jersey. That's
Yeah.
a good plan. But some winemakers swear that it works, and others say that it's just wishful thinking that it works.
Hmm.
So anyway,
I'll find out. I'll report back.
Yeah.
So I just looked up, the Farmer's Almanac is going out of print.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I did know that.
So they posted something on December 10th, 2025, titled "A Fond Farewell. The season we hoped would never come is here." That's sad.
That's amazing. That is very sad. That's been published since the 18th century, right?
It says, many of you grew up hearing your parents or grandparents quote from the almanac, always having a copy nearby. Incredibly proud of the legacy and the contributors. Man, it says with deep felt appreciation. Yeah. So the 2026 Farmer's Almanac is the last one.
Was that print right up to the end?
Well, that's a good question. Are they switching to online?
I mean, it's a well-known brand. I don't know how. The problem is...
No, just it. That's it. Online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
208 years it was going.
The problem is that back in the day when it first launched, everybody was a farmer. And now the number of farmers are very few. And there are a number of people who need the information around farming is kind of low, and they have lots of other sources of information.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that you're going to read the Farmer's Almanac to make decisions about your crops is completely antiquated.
You don't need that. Okay, interesting. Embarrassing for me. I just said it was 208 years. That was from the AI overview. And I get nervous when I off the cuff say things from AI overviews because I'm like, So I kept scrolling down. I thought 208 was, a lot, obviously. So I said it. And then I see 234 is, yeah. So
foiled again by AI.
Foiled again. You can't even we're talking about misinformation about weather, and we just have more misinformation about people who give information about weather. It's so many layers of like, what the heck is going on? Now, another thing says 208. Now, I can't do this on the fly. The AI overview has failed me.
Yeah. We just need a solid source that tells the start date, and we need to do our own math. That's one of the ways that chatbots hallucinate is it's a language model, not a mathematical model. And so they get screwed up with numbers, especially I know I used to use Perplexity a lot. They used to really screw up dates and numbers and things like that.
Yeah. What happened? You just stopped talking about Perplexity. I kind of was surprised. What happened?
Yeah. I just got fed up, and I started using Kagi Assistant. My son works for Kagi, full disclosure. And Kagi Assistant has this menu of chatbots. You just pick one and use it. You can just switch on the fly constantly. Yeah, so it's like, I feel like it's so much better to be able to just try all kinds of different kinds of chatbots. And what I'm hoping to achieve, which I haven't achieved yet, is an expertise about which chatbots are best for which applications.
Right.
We all use AI for all kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah. So
they're all commodified. They change every day. Like it has a good day and a bad day. It has a good run and then a bad run. It works really well for one task, and then all of a sudden you realize it's been leading you astray the whole time. They do updates, and literally they have good and bad days. So it's impossible to know.
Right. And what they've learned is that if a chatbot can use an inferior model, they make a lot more money.
Right.
They kind of do something. Some chatbots do some monkey business behind the scenes to sort of like degrade the quality of the tool that you're using on the fly, because the profit is in, you paying more than it costs to serve the things you do. And so there's some enshittification behind the scenes as they're trying to, pay back their investors and try to make a going concern of it. It's just like Netflix. Netflix used to reward the people who almost never ordered a movie back when they were mailing DVDs of movies. Did we talk about this before? I feel like I talked about this on this podcast before.
I don't know, but it's always fun to talk about old school Netflix.
Podcast. Yeah. So this is actually a funny story. We didn't know Netflix existed in like 1999 or 2000 or whatever it was. And Kevin was a teenager who was in high school. And he wanted to go get a job, and he was like just in the neighborhood because he didn't have a car. So he wanted to have a job that was within walking distance. And so he went around the corner, and there was this company called Netflix, and he came back and told us about it. He's like, this is a company called Netflix, and you won't believe it, but they actually mail movies to you in the mail as DVDs.
Wait, he saw the headquarters or
yeah, it was around the corner. We live in Silicon Valley. Yeah. It's, we're in Silicon Valley where, within a 10-mile radius of where we lived was Apple, Google, all these different companies.
Hope you held on
and that's
to that
how we heard
apartment.
about Netflix. Yeah. And but their model was if you were really into movies and you get 3 at a time, I think it was the basic model. And
we had it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you watch it quickly and send it back because you want to get the next movie, because it was the same price no matter how many movies you watched. Right. And so to really optimize, to make it work for you, you would have a fast turnaround, and you could end up watching, 40 movies a month for the same price as somebody might watch one, right? If they only look for one. And so what they would do is the more you used it, the less available your favorite or the hottest movies would be. So you'd go to rent a movie and it's like, well, that's not available, and that's not available, and that's not available. But if you rented like 2 a month, everything was always available. And the reason for that is those are the profitable customers. They were losing money on the most enthusiastic customers
Right.
and making all their money on the least. It's like a gym, right?
Yeah, it's like a gym. I was just thinking
Everybody,
that. Yep.
yeah, exactly. Everybody makes a New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym. And then the first thing they do is they sign this contract for like this gym membership. And, half the people never really go that much anymore. That's the business of gym. There's people who go every day and using the equipment who are the money losers.
Right. You want people
Anyways.
signing up who never do anything. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
subscriptions are so popular now.
Gift cards is another example.
Oh, really?
Gift cards are a one-on-one thing. So you buy a $100 gift card and then you give it to somebody and they can spend $100. It's like 1-to-1. So where's the profit? The profit is in the minority of people who don't use the card. It's just free money.
That's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
And so, but we'd like incentives that reward the enthusiasts, the active users, the people who love the service, who really use the service. And all of those three examples are the opposite. So,
well, chatbots, I don't know. They all just are a big soup. I did think it was funny. I was at home on my computer, all this new technology we use, and then for the snowstorm, we just hear, they send cars down the street with giant megaphones on them. Are you familiar with that? Have you lived in a place where they do that?
I've lived in a place where they do that, but for an entirely different reason. So you tell me about your place, and I'll tell you about my place.
Well, they did that in Chicago too, where they just drive cars around with huge megaphones on the top that just say like public service announcements.
Wow.
And you're just sitting in your living room and you're like, what the heck is that sound? You have to like turn the TV off, and then it's this thing. It's like, park your car off street. Like, do not park your car on the street because the plows have to go through. Like, you must move your car, and you're like, what? Like, what on earth is happening? And it's just a person going down the street, and so it's just this combination of like, that is the technology when they really want to reach people. Is just like strap a mic on a car and drive around. Meanwhile,
that's amazing.
Chatbots, supposedly can do everything. Can't do that. Not reaching everybody. But what's your context for megaphones on cars?
In Latin America, they use megaphones for all kinds of things, and including here in El Salvador, but also in Mexico, in Oaxaca, and elsewhere. So there are people who collect junk to sell. They come down, and they're like, "We're collecting junk. Please, if you got some junk, bring it down." And then there are others. There are people on, like in Oaxaca, in the neighborhood where we used to stay all the time. There was a woman who would, bake a bunch of bread, pan dulce, various kinds of bread that were popular. She literally had a basket lashed to her motorcycle and just like with cloth over it. And she'd go to a place in the neighborhood at like 7:00 in the morning and be like, El pan. And people come out and stand there on the street and do a transaction. And then she'd drive 100 yards down the street and do the same thing. There's a million things like that. Here, the water, like the big 5-gallon water bottles that, they just come and yell water, and people go out and buy it. The trash works that way in much of Latin America, including even Mexico City, where they have a bell. So they pull the trash truck into an intersection and they're like, bang, 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 bang. And everybody in all the apartments all around come rushing with their garbage. And then
that sounds terrible.
It's terrible. They sort the garbage right there on the street. That the workers do, not the...
Also terrible.
Yeah. And so anyway, so there's a lot more of that. And one of the things that's, the downside obviously is that this stuff is waking you up all the time and disturbing your peace, so to speak. But the upside is that there's a wonderful and refreshing tolerance in Latin America in general for people who have to trespass on your solitude or your quietness to make a living. Somebody's making a living is totally cool. Everybody's got to make a living. There's this attitude, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot more lively. Like the things I'm talking about, I just remembered also Seattle had that, I think during COVID, but I could never hear it. So I have no idea what they were saying. But it's, these are organized by the town. I think if an individual did this, they might just get arrested. I don't think you can drive around with megaphones and do these things. These are like coordinated, the mayor and the governor, whoever decided, get the cars out, the ones with the megaphones on them. Here's what we're going to say. play it on a loop, and they just drive around all the streets. I think it worked because there's only one car parked on our street, which is a little bit unusual. That person, they missed the memo in a big way, but it works. It works in a way that TV doesn't work, that chatbots don't work, that social media doesn't work. It's like that. If you really want to get a message out, it is not through all this newfangled technology. Apparently, it's through microphones strapped on cars.
They are literally town criers.
They are. They are. But I think
Amazing.
it's recorded. It would be better if it was
Yeah.
a stand-up
Live.
comedian again.
Yeah.
This is a very official message kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you really, I don't know, it's interesting. We're so fragmented in how we get information, but that is like apparently the source of truth.
Also, if there were ever an EMP attack, I think it's an EMP attack where it's a blast of electromagnetic radiation that knocks everything out, like out of commission, every type of communications, phones and all the rest. If that ever happened, which it probably won't, but if it did, they have the trucks ready to go. All right, fire up the megaphone trucks. We're going to go communicate public service announcements to the public because they can't use their phones or televisions or internet.
Right. I mean, I guess they could send out a text, which is something that happens, when there's a big event, everyone will get a text, but maybe it's just a small town. So, but I don't know, in Chicago, they did it too, and Seattle. So it would be really interesting if there was a really serious event, like a nuclear event or EMP, like you were talking about. Like, I think a lot of things would look very different.
Yeah. Yeah. But back to the weather.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the solution? Like, what should people do? Like, what is the best practice for getting really high quality? Is it TikTok? Is that what do you think that's
where
a
I saw the
source
best information, but I do think that TV newscasters are quite good. It's just like, I don't have a TV subscription and fewer young people do. Like,
I don't have a TV.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, that you have to talk to a person. So that's just the whole question in the world right now is, do you trust, or in our world, I guess, in technology, do you trust these apps or, these chatbots or whatever Google says, or, is anything really right? And how do you know what to do? But it seems that combination of this technology, all the data, all the sources they can pull from about the climate and the weather patterns, the wind, the temperature, all that. You want all that data, but it's extremely helpful, it continues to be, to talk to somebody who can wrap it all together and localize it to you. Yeah, social media, you should follow these guys on TikTok or watch TV. And then I don't know if you should do your own research. What do you think? I think that might be too much.
When people say I do my own research, what they mean is that they go out and cherry pick data that supports their existing beliefs. That's not what research is. Research is quite the opposite of that. So no, I don't think people should do their own research, but what I do think people should do is they should find really high quality sources of information, really authoritative and reliable source of information, and bias that in favor of all the algorithmic junk. That's the thing that worries me about TikTok. If you're on weather TikTok, I guess you could call it, they're going to be slipping in. Yeah, they're going to be slipping in all kinds of crazy. People are going to find out that they get a lot of views. And so somebody's going to figure out how to get a lot more views. And they're going to do things that are not going to be helpful. They're going to do things that are going to make you not be able to look away.
Right. There was some bad advice too. Like, another thing is, okay, the weather is what it is. I'm canceling my plans, but what do I actually have to do? And for me, it's like shoveling. Do I need to shovel? Do I need to buy salt? Can I move my car? If I moved my car, would I be able to go on the streets? Okay, this and that freeway is actually closed, so you just want to know, what is my action? And I did see some bad advice. So there was one TikTok video that was this guy who was saying, don't shovel early. Usually, you should shovel at some point during the day and not wait till it's all just compacted overnight, because then it turns to ice and then it's heavy, and then maybe there's a ice layer on top of it. So now it's like really hard to shovel and you're kind of like punching through the top of a creme brulee kind of thing. And he was making this case of like, don't ever shovel, because if you shovel down to the driveway, then the ice rain comes in, then your driveway is just going to be really slick. And it's like, oh yeah, but then you put the salt down. I don't know. And all these people are taking advice from this guy. And it's like, no, you should probably just talk to your neighbor. Or you should talk to, your friends, your family. Like, how do people manage it in my area? Like, don't do that thing that guy did on TikTok. Who knows where he lives? Like, what is he even doing? It's just for entertainment. So to your point, yeah, there's bad advice on there.
I could have used good advice when I first moved to New York. I was there, I think the first winter we were there, there was a blizzard, like a really crazy blizzard,
Mm-hmm.
couple feet of snow overnight or some insane amount of snow. And I had to get up really early to go to work. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. And I think by 4:30, I had to realize that my car, which was parked on the street,
Right.
was totally covered you couldn't tell there was a car. There was this kind of a mound there.
Any glue?
And yeah, and I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, well, I guess I better get a snow shovel and go out there. So I was out there for like 45 minutes shoveling snow, and I took the snow. I took the snow and I put it behind the car in the street. And as soon as I was done, a snow plow came, and just because of where I had put the snow, it just recovered my car with that
That's
same
terrible.
snow. And I was like, because anybody who has the slightest clue
Yeah.
about shoveling snow wouldn't have made that mistake, but I didn't know. It's like, how would I know?
Yeah, I found like my husband doesn't really know what to do with all the snow, which is funny because he didn't grow up in an area with just snow like this. And for example, there are some common courtesies. Like we live next to some older people. Like you shovel their sidewalk. Like you just do. That's what you do. Or whoever in the
Yeah.
neighborhood wakes up earliest. Like you often shovel someone else's sidewalk. It's just kind of like common courtesy. And so we've had our sidewalk shoveled if we haven't gotten to it yet. But that means you also have to do other people's, like especially the old people next door. And so there's just some norms on like how you handle big snow events, and people kind of come together. And you're certainly not going to learn that on TikTok, but that's a big loss if people don't do that anymore, because it's so nice that people do things for each other. And it's just you have to grow up in it kind of thing.
I had to coerce my sons to go out and shovel the sidewalk in New York. But I couldn't be like, oh, when I was a kid, we had to shovel 10 feet of snow just to get to school barefoot uphill. I couldn't do that. So I was like, I grew up, a big part of my childhood, I grew up on the sand in Santa Barbara, like in a place right on the beach. And I'd be like, yeah, we had to vacuum up the sand because it really got into the house, and we had to like clean up the
Did
sand.
you?
I was trying to, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. There was sand everywhere. I mean, we were surfing every day and swimming in the ocean every day, and just constant sand.
Yeah.
In the shower, sand.
I hate that. Yeah.
Rugs. Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah.
Not as brutal as ice and snow, but
no. I mean, I grew
brutal.
up in Minnesota, so that's severe, like serious piles of snow. It's not like that here. But yeah, I mean, we have snow blowers and things, but they always seem to not work. And you have to remember to get gas at the gas station and put it in a separate canister. You have to. Some people they just buy the snow blower on Amazon. They're like, I'm ready. It's like, no, you have to put fluids in it, and you have to get gas, and it's like a mechanical thing.
Yeah.
So there's just all this knowledge. Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with snow anymore.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Okay, before we move on from this podcast, I would like to move off of weather and onto another topic. You mentioned, and I think the topic can be characterized as, what do we do nowadays about social media and blogging? Because I'm not really sure what to do. All I know is that the whole thing doesn't really work anymore. So and I'll tell you what I've been thinking about my own situation, but you said you started using TikTok, and you said it's been working. By working, you mean you've been posting TikTok videos and they've been getting some traction? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, number one, working, and I've actually stuck to my goal. I mean, I know it's only third, fourth week of January, but I have done it twice a week, sometimes 3, because I'll do like a half effort kind of on both. So it's like total 2. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten followers. I get a lot more engagement on TikTok than anything else. Much more. Let's see. I did post a TikTok about my vibe coding project, and I got invited to speak at a local government event about AI.
Because of the TikTok?
Yes, I think it was because of the TikTok. I can't verify that, but I do think it was because of the TikTok, because I posted that in several places, and I don't. Maybe it was the article, but it felt very coincidental. I got the message about it like right after I posted the TikTok. I don't know, but
And I decided I was gonna ask you to characterize how you do TikToks. Then I decided that was a ridiculous question because I could just go to TikTok and watch them.
I'm not an
And
expert.
I'm going to do that, I'm going to look at your videos, and I want everybody listening to this to go look at your videos on TikTok. But then I got super curious and impatient, and now I'm going to ask you, like, what you talk
Yeah.
at the camera, and are you in your car? Like somebody, it's supposed to help if you're in your car.
No. Well, wait. What's your context? So what's going on with you?
Well, I have a blog that it's on Post Haven,
Is it
and
Machine
it's
Society?
no, that's my newsletter slash blog.
Right.
I'm happy with that. I like the way it looks. I like the way it operates. I'm very happy with Machine Society, but I do a lot of random stuff. I post a lot on social media about events. I write other things. I just want to write something just for a blog. It doesn't belong on Machine Society. It doesn't belong. And so I want to have a blog, and I want everything to be on that blog. And I want to do a posse system where you post in one place and then it goes out to these other
Yes,
things.
that's nice.
I also want to be on the Fediverse. I use Mastodon right now, and I don't care for Mastodon. I have great followers and lots of them on Mastodon. There are technical people, lots of, real, my kind of people. But I don't like any of the apps or the interfaces. I just don't like the way it works. I don't like the way it shows me the notifications. I don't like the feel of it. So I have this idea that what I really want to do is have a blog that is actually on the Fediverse that will go out to people on Mastodon and other similar services. It's supposed to be possible. I know some people do it. So I'm casting about for the perfect solution that integrates the sort of like the state of the art of Fediverse posting. I also want it to be, it's very important to me that it's aesthetically amazing in some way. And so that's what I'm just starting to look at to try to figure out what to do. And so, because it's not working, like the engagement, I'm on Twitter because I got 60,000 followers, or I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
which is amazing.
You'd think so, but it isn't. I get no engagement. I mean,
I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started
post
on Twitter
something.
too late, because I joined like journalism later, and it's just it's over. It's done. You can't grow there. Yeah.
I with all those tens of thousands of followers, I'll post something and it gets 130 views or something like that, and two people click on the links. It's just, and there are a couple of diehards on there who are just reliably liking my stuff and engaging with it, but it's just, so that's no good. Blue Sky is a little better. Mastodon is hit or miss. Sometimes things blow up on Mastodon, which is nice. Substack Notes, where my podcast is on Substack. Really smart people, but no engagement. Threads. I finally got engagement on something. I forgot what it was. I was talking about the Spanish language, and I got attacked by a bunch of Spanish language nerds.
Whoa.
But generally no engagement. So, and my blog gets very little engagement. And I feel like there's some best way to cultivate an audience, because I want to sell books in the future, and I want people to discover me. And I want all the people who have discovered me in the past the biggest problem for people like you and me is that people read us, they love us, they're like, who's this writer? Okay, yeah, that's it, really. And then they never find us again. We just vanish into the ether, into the noise, and they want to read our stuff. We want them to read our stuff, and that connection is lost.
Right. Yeah, you want to find your people and connect with them. That's what's so fun. But okay, so what I'm doing with TikTok is very much in the spirit of what you're saying. Let me just look at my TikTok. So it's kind of New Year's resolution-y in a way, and it's kind of broadly applicable to anything in anyone's life, like working out. So I just want to do it 2 times a week for 3 months consistently and see where it gets me. Because if I put in that consistent effort, I should be learning along the way. And I am learning. Like last week, I spent 2 hours trying to figure out how to post what I wanted to post. And then I only got 75% of the way there. I just posted it. It wasn't perfect, but it was much better than the 2 hours I spent on the wrong thing. And then my coworker messaged me like, "Oh, I have an idea of how you could have done that one better." And I was like, "I know. I just tried to do that for 2 hours." So I'm learning. I'm getting more comfortable with, doing the whole camera thing. I'm seeing if the way that I speak works on TikTok, if people are getting it and what kind of comments they write and stuff. So I'm trying different types of content. There's also the whole sound thing on TikTok. And so I'm just going to do a really big concerted push for 3 months and see if it gets me anywhere. And at the end of the 3 months, if it doesn't, I'm just going to be like, okay, that like full force effort just doesn't work. You know, like, because sometimes if you just do it a little bit here and there for a year or two, you're like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere on TikTok. It's like, well, you didn't really do your best. You didn't really show everything. So how do you know if you can be successful or not? You're just kind of dabbling. So I'm trying to not dabble and just full force give it my best and see if that best is any good, or if I need to like fully reevaluate the strategy, like reevaluate the branding, the messaging, the approach, the tone. But I just want to give it a full go and see what happens. And it's just like working out. Like if you work out sometimes, like I'm not building muscle or I'm not getting good cardio. It's like, well, you're not really trying. So do you even know if you know how to work out? Do you know if you know how to stick to a nutrition plan? Do you know, how to build up your reps over time? Like, are you really trying, or are you just kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out? So I'm trying to not do that and give it full force. And I'm happy to talk about it because if anyone sees me on TikTok, I am experimenting. So that's what's happening.
Amazing. I've been tempted by stuff like that. I have a really good camera with an amazing lens. I have, what do they call it? The DJI Mini, the latest mini microphones. They clip on magnetically.
That's good. I need that. That's one of the issues with my TikToks is I have bad sound.
It connects wirelessly to my mirrorless camera.
Yes.
So the combination of the video through my camera and those microphones is cinematic. Cool. I mean, it's incredible. I also have.
So you're so set up for video content.
I know. And the other thing is that I have those same microphones work seamlessly with my drone. My drone is a DJI drone, and it's optimized to eliminate the sound of the drone itself. So you can sit there and do videos with the drone recording it. And it has a mode called, well, I forgot the name of the mode, but basically you walk toward the drone. They have a mode called
mode.
Mode.
It's mode.
It backs up as you walk toward it. So it maintains the distance and the height that you preset. And so I always thought that'd be a good sort of visual gimmick where I could be Carl Sagan. I could be a Carl Sagan who doesn't know anything about astrophysics or astronomy, mind you. But still, I could walk toward the camera. I could do that kind of cinematic style of audio and video. And I just haven't done it. It's like it's weird thing. It's a time thing,
I think you should start with a much less grandiose idea. I think you should just take a piece you publish, like an opinion piece, and just say
and talk about it.
And just talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing it's a huge hurdle. It's like, no, what am I going to do with this camera? Like, what am I going to say?
Right.
So that's what I'm just getting over, just brute force, like in public,
Have you thought of getting a mirrorless camera, like a high-end camera?
No, because I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, because there's so many people on TikTok with a jillion followers and the worst cameras. I think it's more about like your content, your messaging, and how in the presentation than the camera quality.
But it is a differentiator because
it is.
Everybody's on their phone, and it just looks like a phone camera. And I always thought, the ideal thing, and I almost pulled the trigger on this, but to get a motion stabilizing gimbal for my mirrorless camera, a big one. It has to be a big one because my camera's pretty heavy with the lens. And I thought that would be really differentiating. The other reason why I think that I should do those kinds of things is that I'm always in these amazing places. Like I could see, walking around some like really cool place. But I also, I just can't bring myself to be one of those douchebags who's vlogging in public.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You see it, and I'm just like, ugh, I don't
Yeah,
want
it's
to.
bad. I mean,
Yeah,
when
I
I
don't want. I
first
don't want to do
started
that.
experimenting, my very first TikTok experiment before this current one was about a year ago. And I did the same thing, but I said I'm gonna spend no more than 20 minutes on TikTok. That was the cap.
20 minutes just doing all of the work and
The
all the
entire
everything,
thing
setup,
from, like,
everything. Okay, wow,
ideation to editing to post. It was
wow.
gonna be, like, off the cuff, like, I'm just gonna do 20 minutes. I'm not gonna spend my whole day doing this. I'm just gonna see what happens in 20 minutes. So that was my first experiment, and it really helped just, like, push me out the door, like, don't overthink it, don't get all the equipment out, don't refilm it a bunch, just be like, "It's good enough." No one cares. No one cares what I'm posting on TikTok, you know?
Yeah, that's the micro habits concept where your goal is so doable
Yeah.
that you're going to do something, and since you're doing something, you might find yourself doing more, much more than the goal.
Yes. So I started with that, and then I did that for a while, and that did work, but I kind of just lost the thread. There was the TikTok ban, there was the election, there was my renovation. Like I don't just like lost it. So this is my New Year's resolution, and I'm gonna spend more than 20 minutes. Like I said, I did spend 2 hours trying to edit that stupid video of Ben Affleck talking about AI. If someone will see that. But so yeah, I'm just trying to see what I can do there. I think it's worth it on TikTok. I think there's a lot of audience there, and the algorithm does connect people who seem to care about the same things.
I should follow suit and try to do something. I do know that I got really excited about Meerkat. You know, we're talking about 10, 11, 12 years ago. Meerkat was the thing because you could stream on a phone. That was novel back then.
Mhm.
Google Plus had a thing where you could live stream to YouTube,
Mm.
but you had to have a laptop or a desktop computer to do it. Meerkat was in the right place at the right time when streaming from a phone happened. And I was on Meerkat 2, 3 hours a day. I would just put it up while I'm
Wow.
typing and stuff and just make comments to this unseen public. And that was an example of just do it. Just don't make a big
Just
fuss
do
of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And I would bring it I was working at Twit at the time, and I'd bring it into the studio and have people see the behind the scenes. And then I'd turn it off for the show because I wanted people to watch the show. And also the content of the show didn't belong to me, it belonged to Twit. And then I'd turn it right back on as soon as the show was over. And it was great. It was new. That's one of the reasons it was great, because it was kind of a novel
Mhm.
medium. I think there's something to that. And I'm really happy that you're doing that experiment. I'm really curious to see what happens. And I'm guessing you're going to be successful with it. I'm guessing
We'll
it's going to
see.
be
I
really
only have
worthwhile.
326 followers, but I think more for me, the success would be that I find something that I enjoy doing on TikTok. Like, what do I want to say? What do I like?
Yes.
Like, what do I
You want to
want?
find your unique approach
Right.
to it. And you're not going to find it until you try different things and see what really feels right
Right.
to
Like,
you.
take it seriously, not just phone it in. Like, oh, I just wrote this news article. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like actually try is
Yeah.
what I'm working on. And even if I don't get a lot of followers, if I find something that I like, I'll be much more likely to be successful and not just have it fade out. So we'll see. I'm
My,
giving myself 3 months. I'm like almost a month in.
my spirit animal is Carl Sagan, because Carl Sagan was such a genius at explaining things and conveying the importance of the important things
Mm-hmm.
and talking about the magnitude of different things. I think that's one of the ways that video can be helpful, because you can, the spoken voice, body language, all that kind of thing, the way you modulate your voice can help people contextualize what's happening, because we just are hit with a wall of all this stuff is changing and happening, and what's
Right.
important, what isn't important. And people get wrapped up in things that I think are not important, like the stock price of Nvidia or whatever. Who cares, as far as I'm concerned? But I think I would love to figure out some way to be. Maybe I need a corduroy sports coat with the elbow pads. I think
Yeah,
that would
that'd be
help.
good.
And the haircut that Carl Sagan had.
I think people who are not 30 years old or younger on TikTok immediately stand out because it's like, oh, wow, look at this person who actually knows something who's on my TikTok. When
Hmm.
there's someone who actually is smart and seasoned and knows what they're saying, it really stands out,
Well,
which
two out
is,
of three isn't bad in my case. So
well, that's why I just don't think you should overthink it. I really don't. I think like just you should just take one of your opinion pieces and think, okay, how could I make this into a video? And just like, I would start with less than a minute. Like, don't ramble to start. And just be like, what is the most important point? Like, what? And you could just start with like, I just wrote about, or like, I'm really frustrated about blah, blah, blah. And just minute, record, just post it. Just post it. See what happens.
The Mickey Rooney approach. Did you ever notice why blah, blah, blah? Okay, great. I'll do that. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think we should both, I think I should join you in seeing what can happen on TikTok if you really apply yourself.
And I hope to see you there.
That.
We should engage with each other's posts and hold each other accountable.
Okay.
I'm doing that with a coworker right now, the one who said I could have done better on the Ben Affleck video.
Great.
And I said, I know, I spent 2 hours. But it's helpful to have people around and like kind of journalists helping each other like find new ways to reach people. So yes, we should join forces.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Well, what a lovely ending. What a good, nice note. We don't really end on a positive note usually. We're like, well, the world's ending.
The world's on fire. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Have fun on your phone this week. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. This has been a fun episode. We always start somewhere. We don't know where we're going to end up, but we're just thankful that you're here if you made it all the way. We are getting more reviews and we just really appreciate that. Stars, support. The comments have been really fun on our Substack. Just people who are listening every week. So thank you so much. And we will be back next week.